We need it. Need it all the way to the end here. All right, here, let's take Frederick in Baltimore. Hey, Frederick, how are you, my friend?
Wow, Dean.
Yes, brother.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, man, it's been such a long time. I just got back from Africa January 21st.
Wow, what were you doing?
I was over there visiting my wife and her family for Christmas. You know, Orthodox Christians, their Christmas fell on January the 7th this year.
What country did you go to?
Ethiopia.
Okay.
I was in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I listened to Mike while I was over there, at least for one episode.
Wow.
Tried to listen to you, but, you know, the Wi-Fi was sometimes difficult in the hotel where I was staying.
Well, the Muslim ban doesn't let my signal go out. That's what happens. It stops me. So, I'm kidding. I'm glad, Frederick, you didn't tell me I was going big game hunting with Donald Trump Jr. I was like, where did you go there for? But I'm kidding you. That would be the word. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen, and I'm glad you said that, because right off the bat, I just want to say this for all your listeners. First of all, let's stop calling the Republican Party the Republican Party. It is no longer the Republican Party. It is the Trumplican Party. Yeah. And I really mean that. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. We should give them that name and let them wear it like an albatross around their neck. They really should do that. They are the Trumplican Party. Can you believe that an Eisenhower would support something like this that's going on? Even a Jack Kemp? I don't even think a Ronald Reagan would support anything like this.
No.
This is absolutely. It is. I mean, I could describe it in other terms, but I want to give this original terms. I don't want to say McCarthy. This is a new type of McCarthy. And I don't think Republicans of old would even support anything like we have seen from last week and from this man who serves in the White House, who I now call the insidious disease. I'm not trying to be funny, listeners, and I'm not trying to be funny. I refer to him as the insidious disease. And we need to
call him ID.
Insidious disease.
We'll call him ID for short. So I like this. Look, Frederick, there's no doubt that if people are really true conservatives and they really believe in the dogma of, say, free trade and lower deficits, they would not be subscribing to Trump, because Trump in that regard is governing almost like a Democrat, frankly. And I don't mean it to be, it's not 100% accurate, but he's not following their dogma. But when you look at the white supremacy he serves up, we have to be blunt. Many Republicans, and I think George W. Bush was pretty good compared to others. But, you know, Ronald Reagan, we find out now him and talking to Richard Nixon, some racist stuff going on. But Ronald Reagan kicked off his campaign in Philadelphia, Mississippi. He could have picked any city in the country. He picked Philadelphia, Mississippi, and that's where the three voting rights activists were killed. And,
yes.
and I mean, and it's not a coincidence when he went there and talked about states' rights that he picked that city for that reason. So I don't want to make this nostalgia of these guys being better, but on actual policy, yeah, they would not agree with him, because Trump is not a conservative. He's taken away conservative values and is just a Trump guy who he's a demagogue who's just about dividing Americans and doing all he can to make us not believe in our own electoral system, believe in our Constitution, and reject the values that at least I thought the nation stood for. His party does not any longer. There's nothing.
Yeah. And I just would like to say for your listeners out there, I am a progressive. Mm-hmm. And I brought up Reagan and Jack Kemp and Eisenhower only because I didn't agree with Reagan's policies for the most part. But in the end, I thought he was an honorable man. And I don't think honorable men would stand up and vote against witnesses and documents in a trial. I guess I'm too old. I might be getting too old, but I remember back in the day in the early 60s when I was just a child, Republicans stood up for civil rights. Republicans stood up for justice. I don't see any of that today. It's just the Democrats.
They stand up for Trump.
Democrats.
Frederick, everything is being, the only measure of their party now is how loyal are you to Donald Trump. Not where you stand on the policies. You must be 150% loyal to Trump. And if you're not, you will be eaten alive by others in that cult. And when John Bolton was beloved by conservatives, the minute he said he was going to speak the truth Fox News went on warpath against him. And this was a guy who was a Fox News expert for years and years and years. They didn't care. The minute you turn on Trump and you pick truth over Trump, you get destroyed. And this is what is just like something in countries that, again, I'm rereading the book, How Democracies Die Now, a year later. And it's Donald Trump. He was following that path before. Now he's so embraced that whole path, knowingly or unknowingly, how to delegitimize our democracy and our republic. And that's what he's doing.
And that's why I hope Mike, who I listen to you and Mike most often than anybody else, I hope you start calling the GOP the Trumplican Party. And the Trumplican Party stands for what you just said. That's what it stands for now. It's not true.
I agree.
For something completely.
I've been saying for 2.5 years that Trump is the GOP and the GOP is Trump. And at first, people were like, I don't know. And now, no one would deny that. In fact, everyone says that. But I was saying that for 2.5, 3 years because I could see what was happening. He was purging his own party. He demanded absolute loyalty. And the reason I knew that would go further is because of reading history. Because history tells us what Trump's going to do. Trump, look at it. In countries that were democracies, you had people come to power and dissolve Congress. And you might go, well, that's unthinkable. Well, that was unthinkable in those countries, too. If Donald Trump said tomorrow, I'm dissolving Congress, we would have a constitutional crisis. If he said, I'm dissolving it for emergency powers, I know it sounds ridiculous, but everything else the guy's done is outrageous. So what if he were to win re-election and the Democrats have the Senate and the House? He goes, I'm dissolving it. And then he goes to the courts. They control the courts to a large extent. There's no limit. And that's why we have to just beat him and beat him cleanly and by a good margin and be done with this guy. Because if he were to win re-election, the next thing he's going to run his son. So he could be like Putin, who was term limited out in Russia, and Red Medvedev, who became his prime minister, his president. He became the VP, the prime minister, and really ran the country. And his base would do that, going wink, wink, oh, it's going to be Donald Trump Jr., or just Trump goes, let's just suspend the 22nd Amendment, and I can just run and let the courts decide it. So, all right, Frederick.
It's a lot of things out there. It's a lot of things out there, Dean, and you're not too far off point. This is really getting drastic now. I would just like to take 15 seconds. Just
all right, last thing. I got to go break, my friend. Go ahead.
Okay. Iowa caucus, you all, is not reflective of the diversity in America. It's not reflective of the Democratic Party. I think in 2024, that before then, the Democratic Party should really consider changing where we have our first vote at. And I saw the Iowa caucus from Des Moines, Iowa last night on C-SPAN. It was great. 3-hour coverage of just Des Moines, which is the largest, precinct of the Iowa caucus. It was a madhouse. It was organized chaos. It's no way, shape, and form we can depend on an Iowa caucus in this day and time to establish a front runner of the Democratic Party.
No, I agree, and I think that that's going to be a discussion after this is all done. And interestingly, MSNBC was just reporting about 40% of the votes have not been reported, a big chunk from Des Moines. So what you saw on TV, Frederick, is part of the reasons not been reported. It was a huge turnout there, and I don't know the makeup of Des Moines. But whatever it is going to have a big impact on this election because that's a big city. You have Des Moines and Ames. They have not reported yet. Apparently, a big chunk. That's going to change everything.
You could count the African Americans on your finger. I saw maybe a handful.
Well, that's the state.
C-SPAN did great coverage. They from start to finish.
Right.
It was amazing. I sit here and looked at it. Wow, this is amazing. I've never taken an interest as to inside.
First, I got to go to a break. Nice chatting with you. I'm glad you're back. You had a good time in Africa, and welcome back, my friend. And now it's time for fighting. That's it. All right, let's take a break and come right back.
Dean